Today's cocktail is the Rum and Coke, also known as the Cuba Libre. The Rum and Coke originated in Cuba shortly after the Spanish-American War and spread to the United States. It is quite popular, mostly because the ingredients are readily available. It consists of rum, Coke, and lime. Pretty easy. Bartenders almost can't go wrong with this one. And although it is technically meant to be made in a highball glass, you will very often see it in a short rocks glass. That's almost always the way I get them, although the official bartender guide does say that it is supposed to be in a highball glass. Personal preference for me, I like the Rum and Coke made with actual Coca-Cola, not Pepsi, not RC, not generic knockoff brand, President's Choice, Sam's Choice, whatever you want to go with there. That's a personal thing. I know some people don't care, but if I go to a bar and say I want a Rum and Coke and the bartender says we serve Pepsi products, I order something else. It's just not my thing. The difference in sweetness between Coke and Pepsi is important to me. Pepsi tending to be sweeter, Coke tending to be a little more acidic tasting. My taste buds prefer Coke over Pepsi. That's always been a personal thing. That said, I am not particular about the type of rum, with the exception of Captain Morgan, because I'm not a fan of spiced rums. But otherwise, it can be light rum, dark rum, black rum, any flavor, pineapple, coconut, orange, mango, lime, I don't care, as long as it's not spiced. I'm not even particular about brands. So the Rum and Coke is pretty much a utility drink because you can get it anywhere. Any bartender can make it. They almost never mess it up. And even though you can vary the flavor a little bit with the different types of rums, the reality is it's a very consistent drink from bar to bar, bartender to bartender. That's the Rum and Coke. As always, if you are of age and you have the opportunity, I highly recommend you enjoy one. Hot Wheels is a brand of die-cast toy car produced by Mattel Company. Hot Wheels were launched in 1968, which means they are actually older than I am. But for comparison, in 1968, my father was fighting in Vietnam. So they're sort of an intergenerational thing as far as I'm concerned. My dad did not have Hot Wheels toys. I did. And he introduced me to Hot Wheels, of course, because he thought they were cool and he thought I would like them. And, you know, he was sort of a car guy, even though we didn't have great cars. My dad liked cars. And so he sort of introduced me to that, just like he introduced me to model airplanes and space travel books and all kinds of. My dad was a nerd disguised as an infantryman. But well, let me not diverge too much into that. So this line of cars was created before I was born, almost a full decade before I was born, and didn't come into my life in a major way until 1980, basically. And then they went away for a while. And what I didn't realize is that a big collecting trend had started in the 90s. I didn't buy my first sort of ironic adult collector Hot Wheels car until I was 26. So in the early 2000s, as opposed to when the real collector trend started, which was the mid-90s. Now in the mid-90s, I was still in college and didn't have money to be buying Hot Wheels cars. So that's apparently how I missed that trend. Now, for the record, I'm a Hot Wheels guy. I am not a Matchbox guy. When I was a kid, those were still two separate companies, and it was a big deal to be a Matchbox person or a Hot Wheels person. Now, in the intervening years, because of the consolidation in the toy industry, Matchbox now owns Mattel because Matchbox was owned by Tyco when Mattel bought Tyco. So, I'm sure they're still different in terms of content, but they were, even back in the day, they were different. Because when I was a kid, one of the things about Hot Wheels were production cars, but they usually had custom, unusual paint jobs and things. Whereas Matchbox cars were mostly, it seemed like they were more real life based and came in, real life colors. And they had a lot of production vehicles, whereas Matchbox might have an ambulance or a helicopter or a fire truck. Hot Wheels was going to have a hot-rodded Camaro, a hot-rodded Mustang, some sort of Corvette race car thing. To me, that was the big difference. Hot Wheels were exciting, and they were what you played with if you wanted to have a fantastic race car adventure or shoot your cars over a stack of books or something. Matchbox was more like, I'm going to play city, and I have these make-believe real-life toy cars in my make-believe real-life toy city. I'm a fireman today. I'm the police chief. I'm the ambulance driver. To me, that was the difference between Hot Wheels and Matchbox. Now, as an adult, I have had no dealings with Matchbox at all. When I go down the toy aisle, I'm looking for Hot Wheels cars. And one of the interesting things about Hot Wheels is, as I mentioned, I'm in my mid-40s, and Hot Wheels cars haven't changed price much since I was a little kid. I mean, they're still basically $1 a piece for the standard cars. Now, yeah, some of the special run units cost a bit more, but like I said, in 2001, I was buying Hot Wheels cars for 94 cents a piece, and in 2019, they're still like, I don't know, $1. Yeah, they're still like $1, $1.09, or maybe some of the fancier ones might be closer to $2, but they're still, you go to Walmart, you're still not paying a whole lot. They certainly haven't increased in price at the rate of inflation. That's the best way to put it. When I was in college, gas was barely $1, and now I pay almost $3 a gallon, and I've paid as much as $4 during the last crisis a few years ago, and during all that time, Hot Wheels cars have been $1. I mean, literally with my pocket change, I can go to Walmart and buy 10 or 12 Hot Wheels cars, and it costs me less than, frankly, if I was to go see the latest Marvel movie at the local multiplex. I won't say how much I make, but let's just say my yearly income buys a whole lot of Hot Wheels cars. Now, fortunately, I haven't become just a complete lunatic about it and just buy. But still, let's say I've bought 5 to 10 cars per year for the last 16, 17, 18 years. That's a lot of Hot Wheels. I mean, and you'll see when I pull them out, I've got a lot of Hot Wheels cars. So I don't play with them. I have exactly 2 that have come out of the package, and in one case, that was because I had a duplicate and I was going to take it to work and put it on my desk as sort of a paperweight type thing. So I have literally 2 Hot Wheels cars that are out of their pack. It's a Pikes Peak Celica and a Black Lotus Esprit. Those are the 2. So in the last 18 years, I've opened exactly 2 of my Hot Wheels. The rest stay in their pack, and they get layered nicely. And someday when I have a garage again, and my first house had a detached garage, and the original plan was to move the die cast out to the garage, but of course I moved out of that house, and since then my Hot Wheels have been stored in a box, and I can't wait for the opportunity to get back to mounting them on a wall or on a shelf somewhere so they can be seen, and then I'll have little tiny things I have to dust all the time. But it's just a great sort of all-American toy, particularly, again, if you're automobile centric, then the Hot Wheels car is, if you're anybody that was born in the last 50 some odd years, it's a piece of your life, and they're nice to have around. So one thing I'll say about the Hot Wheels is I'm into real cars. I don't do a lot of fantasy stuff. Like, you won't see me with dragons and all these sort of weird offshoot Hot Wheels. I stick to my core basics. I stick to my Porsches, my Nissans, I got a Lotus Esprit. I might have a couple of Lamborghinis in there. I got a couple Corvettes, maybe a Dodge Viper. But I sort of stick to my core sports cars and racing cars. You won't find that many sedans in my collection. They're just not, it doesn't appeal to me. Sedans and trucks don't really appeal to me. So I have mostly, it's like my large scale die-cast collection. I have cars that are iconic for their brand, Dodge Charger, Chevy Nova, things like that. Cars that have a racing lineage, so your various Porsches and Ferraris and your Nissans and your different types of prototypes. And then some of the specialty stuff like the truck and race car transporter sets. Your car culture sets, so your Forzas and your track-oriented stuff, your Fast and Furious type stuff. That's pretty much what I stick to. I don't do a lot of the I don't do the trucks or the dinosaurs or any of that kind of nonsense. I like to think that I could take my Hot Wheels cars out of the pack and that they would be ready to go on a racetrack somewhere, like a scale simulation, a 1/64th scale simulation, which just isn't realistic, but it's nice to think about. Thank you for watching Cocktails and Crankshafts. Please like, share, and subscribe, and be sure to hit the bell icon, and we'll see you soon.